Welcome to Outdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. Outdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to Outdrive. We've got another great story to share with you today about life and work in rural America. You know, across nearly every marketing plan for nearly every client, we're using video in our marketing agency in some way to help tell our clients and brands stories. It might be a long-form video, cut down into snippets to push out on social media. It could be an animated video, quickly put together without shooting any footage at all. Or it could be a powerful video shot on location, like the ones our guest produces in the woods and fields throughout the Midwest. Aaron Warbritton is a co-owner of the Hunting Public, an online community of hunters that interact and learn as a group. Aaron and his partners create entertaining and educational videos for the general public, many times shooting on public land available to anyone. But the Hunting Public is more than that. Their mission is to make hunting and wildlife available for kids and their kids. But Aaron's story is even bigger than that. Aaron is one of those rare guys whose passion and work are the same. He gets to hunt and make videos of hunting, and it's all he's wanted to do since he was 10 years old. How many people can say that? Listen in and learn how the Hunting Public got started, how it's grown, and how he's building a positive hunting culture for the next generation. Welcome to Outdrive, Aaron.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me on, Cliff.
Well, I've been looking forward to meeting you and hearing more about the Hunting Public. I think you've got a really cool thing going, and I know our audience wants to hear about all of it. You know, I think you're in a rare situation from my perspective in that your work and your passions are the same thing. And I think that's a rare find and something that I think many people aspire to. Very few ever get there. And I want to understand what your beginnings were and how you built your business and what you're doing to grow your audience and sustain that. But before we get too far down the road, why don't you just start by telling our audience a little bit about you?
Sure. I grew up in Northeast Missouri, small town called Paris. I graduated high school with 36 or 37 people, I think. Real small farming community, tight-knit, a lot of family around. And that's pretty much what we did, is hunt and fished. I mean, we worked on the farm some. My, uncles, I was over there helping them when I was young, being outdoors. And, we were into sports and things like that, but it was always something outside with hunting and fishing. Back even before I can remember, that's what we were doing when we were just, toddlers, essentially. We were getting taken to the woods on little hunting trips and whatnot. So it was instilled in me at a very young age. That's what our family did. That was the culture that we grew up in. And it was all I really ever wanted to do. I was lucky in that regard because I talked to people all over the place about their passion and what they want to do for a career and things. And I pretty much knew what I wanted to do at like the age of 10. When we were little, me and my cousin would grab my aunt's video camera and go out and make hunting videos. They were just god awful, but that's what we did from an early age. We would watch hunting during our summer break vacations out in the country. We'd shoot bows in the yard and, play cowboys and Indians and all kinds of other stuff. But we would also watch hunting videos. And when we'd watch a hunting video, and then that would inspire us to get outside and go hang tree stands or go look for velvet bucks in the summer and pick up the video camera and make our own videos. We didn't really at the time think that it was even a possibility to do that. But, when you're a 10-year-old kid,
anything's possible, right?
Right. Anything's possible. So when I was a 10 and 11-year-old kid, that's whenever anybody asked me what I was going to do and what I wanted to do, I was like, I'm going to make hunting videos. I don't know if anybody's going to watch them, but I'm going to make them. So that's what I did.
Well, that's awesome. Well, growing up as a kid on a farm and having the opportunity to hunt and fish, I kind of went through the same thing. It's a special opportunity that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do in their life. And, you can't go back and recreate that, right? You just have to do it as you're coming along. But thinking back about those times, are there like two or three like life lessons that have stuck with you all this time?
I wouldn't say that there was two or three. There was people that mentored me that have really stuck with me. My dad and my uncle specifically, because they would tote us around no matter what they were doing. It's like it'd be in the middle of summer and dad would say, "Hey, Uncle David just called and they're going to be bucking square bells up the road. Let's go over there and help them." So we'd go over there and we'd do that in the summer heat, and it was miserable. And my dad was always just like, "Hey, make the best of the situation. This is a lot of fun. You got to appreciate this." He said, "When I was working as a kid, I got, 2 cents a bale or whatever to do this type of work. And I miss doing this." Like at the time I didn't understand it, but as I've gotten older, I really appreciate, doing that when I was young. And then my uncles took us to the woods all the time. And they were always, they always preached having fun. They all worked. I mean, my one uncle David worked several jobs to take care of his family, including operating the farm. So, I mean, he's getting hardly any sleep and coming home and throwing on his camo and taking me and my cousins hunting. And, that was awesome. That's what sort of jump started us into doing this and really developing a passion for it. Instead of like specific events, those people, having them consistently in my life growing up was what made the difference. We always focused on the love of hunting and to respect the animals and, to make good shots. I remember my uncle would make us hit a paper plate in the yard from a certain distance. I don't remember if it was 15 yards or 20 yards with a bow. He said, "You guys got to hit this paper plate every single time before you can go bow hunting for deer." And he would still take us with him. We would sit with him, but he wouldn't let us pack the weapon until we were proficient enough with it where he felt like we could make a good shot at an animal.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson.
Right. He didn't want us going out there flinging arrows and wounding stuff. We understood that responsibility when we were real young.
Yeah, see, I think that's several life lessons right there. And I'm sure, safety was a big part of everything that you did in everything you did because, farming is a dangerous profession in and of itself. But then, being safe hunting is so critical. So how did you end up at Mizzou? Was that something that it was going to be a natural all along that you were going to go there, or what took you to Columbia?
No, it was not. It was a rodeo of sorts to eventually end up there because all through high school, I was working on making hunting videos and I looked at like colleges and things to go and learn how to make videos and photography and stuff. And I eventually out of high school, I landed on going to Ozark Technical College in Southern Missouri. And I went down there for 1 year and they had all kinds of classes that I did not care about and just a couple of them that had to do with digital media. So I just took as many of those digital media classes as I could. And I learned some stuff from there, but it was all Hollywood type production stuff that was some of the basic fundamentals apply to making hunting videos, but a lot of it doesn't. Hunting videos are a completely different ball of wax than making a Hollywood movie. So it was interesting to learn that. But after I spent a year down there, I was like, well, I've got all of these specialty classes. I need to get some gen eds. So I went to community college and I eventually got an associate's degree. And then after community college, this is a period of like 3.5 years. After all this is done, I'm working as I'm going through college and I'm working, different short-term jobs and then also doing my hunting video stuff in the background. And I'm going around the country to turkey calling contests and meeting people in the hunting industry. But anyway, one thing leads to another over that 3 or 4 year period, and I end up at Mizzou. I realized that I had enough credits that if I went to a university, I could get a 4 year bachelor's degree in just a couple of years. So that's why I ultimately went to Mizzou and went into natural resources, because that's what I was interested in. They didn't have a hunting producer major there. So I took natural resources, and that's where I met Seth. And yeah, eventually got that degree. And then after that was over with, moved to Iowa.
So right out of college, you're still thinking, I'm going to make hunting videos.
That's all I ever really wanted to do. I mean, I got a degree that I could fall back on if need be. And I learned a lot about the trades and stuff like that while I was in college. I worked for an appliance business, a locally owned appliance business in Mexico, Missouri, for good friends of ours, and learned a tremendous amount about, the service industry and running a small business there that was honestly probably as valuable or more valuable than my, formal schooling that I had. I learned a tremendous amount from my boss, Marvin, over there in just the 3 years that I spent there while I was going to college. So just kind of a melting pot of all these things, all of these skills and critical thinking that eventually led me into a position in the hunting industry. But I had a lot of failures, man. I tried to apply for 3 or 4 different pro staffs, internships, jobs in the hunting industry and got denied. And this is all as I'm going through college, and I'm just building experience when I can while going to school and working. And eventually the internship at Midwest Whitetail up in Iowa came open in 2010 and 11. And at that point, I had accrued enough experience, basically since I was 11 years old, making hunting videos, that I compiled it all together and I sent it to him. And I was like, look, I've been trying to do this for over a decade and I haven't had any luck getting into it, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to pursue this. And this internship sounds like it's right up my alley. I'm just finishing school, would be perfect for me. So they eventually hired me for that internship. And without that, I would not be here doing this today.
You had to be like super exciting when you got the yes, come on up, we want you to go to work for us.
Yes. And I was super driven. I worked day and night on that application for a week, revising my resume, my cover letter, my portfolio work. I tried to give them 2 or 3 times more information about me than what they even asked for. Just because I knew that, because of my failures that I'd had before that, I knew these opportunities are few and far between and that they're really competitive. So they're only going to pick 1 or 2 interns out of 100 applicants. So I got to go above and beyond. And eventually I got it. And yes, I was stoked about it. I was nervous as heck, but I was pretty excited once I got it.
So I think there again, that's a great insight for, particularly young people that are listening to our podcast, but older as well, going above and beyond. Sometimes it takes that. And, if you are really driven to achieve what it is that you set your mind to, putting a little extra into it never is going to hurt.
Yeah, I felt like I had to separate myself from the herd somehow. Instead of just doing the minimum amount, I was like, I've got to elevate myself and show them that this is truly what I want to do. And it's not something that I just dreamt up today. It's something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. And I want to illustrate that to them somehow.
Well, as an employer and I've talked to, literally hundreds of potential employees over the years, hearing a story like that to me would be very motivating. I would want to give somebody like you an opportunity, it's something you wanted to do all your life. I mean, if I can help you do that, there's a lot of gratification for an employer in that. And so talk a little bit about some of the things you got to do while you were at Midwest Whitetail.
It was basically hunting video boot camp for making online videos. It's similar to a lot of these stories that you hear, it's like there's a lot of hard work and dedication involved, but there's also a lot of luck. And you kind of have to make your own luck, if you will. But I just happened to land at the one place that was specializing first in making online hunting videos. Midwest Whitetail was the first one. Everybody else had made hunting videos for TV and hunting DVDs or hunting tapes. This was the first actual business in the industry that was making internet hunting videos. So I got there and I got a crash course immediately in the first year for how to make online video. And this is before YouTube really even becomes a thing, or it's at the infancy of YouTube. So that's pretty much all we did. I mean, I would produce 1 to 3 15 to 20 minute hunting episodes every week year round, just on an editing computer. And we would produce them from start to finish. So we'd be responsible for, coming up with the themes for the episode, going out and filming the hunts, bringing the footage back, capturing the footage, backing the footage up, dealing with hard drives, dealing with pro staff every day, and then ultimately post-production and the editing side, finishing the videos and then uploading them to the internet. So all of those little skills involved in that entire process, I honed those over my internship for about 9 months. And then once the internship was over with, I tried to take the internship approach with the same way that I got it. I was like, I'm only here for 9 months. I have to work every single hour of every single day because I may never get another opportunity at this. That's all I did. I just immersed myself in that for 9 months. And when it ended, they had one job opportunity there. It didn't pay very much. I think my first year I made like $17,000 or $18,000, but it was an opportunity. And they offered it to me at the end of my internship to stay with them. And then that just grew from there and throughout my tenure at Midwest Whitetail, because I was there for 7 years.
So has your perspective on what makes a good hunting video changed?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, it changes all the time. The videos that we were producing back in 2011, 2012, I would think are really boring to watch now. And it just goes with the way that attention spans are and how they change through time. I mean, as you know, everybody's on one of these now and they're watching short form vertical videos. So you have to monitor what the attention span of your target market or your audience is doing at any given time and understand how to communicate effectively with them. So to answer, that's a long-winded way of answering your question. It's like it's ever evolving how you create these videos. But the one thing that doesn't change is the basic fundamentals of storytelling. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is just being able to tell a story, an honest, clear, fairly concise anymore because you don't have their attention for that long, story about what is happening. And that's always been the same. And there's always ways to get better at it. So it's a never ending process. I mean, we learn more about this stuff every week.
Yeah. And I think on a broader scale, I think that's what marketing is all about, right? It just keeps changing. There's new technologies, there's new techniques, best practices, new vehicles, and you got to always be sort of vetting them and trying them and seeing what works and what doesn't work and just hopefully getting better and better. So today you're co-owner of The Hunting Public. How did the idea for that come to be?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it brief and to the point as I can. When I moved to Iowa, I had no money and I wanted to hunt, in addition to also making hunting videos. I'm like trying to be in the woods hunting, even though if I'm the one hunting, there's a camera there. If I'm the one filming, the hunter, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to be in the woods. And the only place where I could get access to hunt was on public land. It was very difficult for me to knock on doors and get permission. I had no money to lease a hunting property or to purchase one myself. So I grew up hunting on public land down here in Missouri. So I hunted public land and made hunting videos out there. And this is all during Midwest Whitetail. And they started calling me and my group of guys that I worked with, the interns and my business partners that we discussed before the podcast. They started calling us like these public land hunters. That wasn't really done on purpose. That was done out of necessity. It was like, well, we got to have a place to go, and this is where we can go. Well, that was our only option. And what we noticed is that there was a lot of people in our situation, the general public that hunts, usually hunts on permission or they hunt public land. They may hunt on a lease with a small group of people. But anyway, we realized real quick, like we relate to a lot of these other people across the country that are in the same boat. They relate to us. And we felt like making videos for the general public that hunts was really important. And we felt like it was missing. It's like nobody's representing the general public that hunts. Everybody is representing this upper echelon hunter that has thousands of acres of well manicured private land, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that. But that's all that hunting media was for the most part. It's like trophy bucks, big managed tracts of land. And the average guys and gals were getting left out of that almost. So that's where we came up with the name, the hunting public. It doesn't mean that we're hunting public land. It signifies the general public that hunts. That's where it was born out of, because we're just, when it comes down to it, we're just a bunch of average guys that grew up in across the country and rural parts of the world in similar ways. Like we grew up loving to hunt and fish and just average guys in average situations. And we realized that a lot of people relate to that.
So you took what you had learned at Midwest Whitetail plus all your other experiences, and you spun up a new business called the Hunting Public. Talk a little bit about, the beginnings of that and maybe some of the challenges and successes over the few years, because I'm sure you had them.
Yeah, the beginnings of that was poverty.
As it always is, right?
Yeah, it was. I saved up, I think, $6,000 or $7,000 over my time at Midwest Whitetail that I had sitting in a savings account. That's all I had. And my business partner, Greg, had about the same amount. And we both just said, let's take that $14,000 and let's buy a couple computers, laptops, and a couple of video cameras. They're not going to be fancy video cameras. They're going to be pretty cheap, but let's buy a couple video cameras and a couple computers. And let's start this YouTube channel called The Hunting Public, and let's make videos for the average folks that hunt. And we'll post them on there and we'll see what happens. We had no idea at the time. I mean, we were hoping that it would go somewhere, but we spent all the money that we had to start out with, and we had no clear path to making any revenue because we started with 0 subscribers on YouTube. You don't get monetized on YouTube. At least back then, I think you had to have 10,000 subscribers. So there wasn't a clear path to revenue there. We basically had to moonlight and, do custom editing projects for other people. And I even did some subcontracted editing for my old boss, Bill, at Midwest Whitetail through that time, because he was needing help producing hunting videos still. So I was helping him edit some videos, and any money that I was making while doing those subcontractor editing projects was just going right back into the Hunting Public just to pay bills and whatever else. I mean, it was a good year before we made anything off of it. It was a money pit. And we were essentially just working to feed ourselves for the next week and pay the bills for the next month. We didn't really have any aim beyond that. We just knew that we believed so much in our mission of what we were trying to do because of talking to people and that related to our videos. And like you said before, we had a passion for it. We weren't really concerned about the money. We're like, as long as we can make enough to feed ourselves, we're going to do this. And then it grew. It started growing really fast. And then we got to a position where the Hunting Public actually made revenue. And we're like, what do we do with this? Like we had to figure out all that. But it was a process to get it going.
So were there maybe a couple of significant events or milestones that you can point back to and say, that really took us to the next level?
At the Archery Trade Association show at the beginning of 2018, we went and attended that. We We had the channel and the brand built for about 6 months at that time frame. And we went to that show, and I mean, there was all kinds of big brands in the hunting industry there. They weren't going to pay us anything. We were little, we weren't even asking for money because we'd been in the hunting industry for a few years working through Midwest Whitetail, and I learned a lot about the industry through my old boss, Bill. And I knew, like, we haven't done anything yet that warrants any sponsorship of anybody in this building yet. But what we can do is we can go around and we can talk to them and learn about what their needs are as businesses, and we can just learn more about the industry as a whole. Where the holes are, where are the needs for each individual company, and it's just as the industry as a whole. And what we ended up meeting, a friend of mine now, his name's Eric Chesser, and he's one of the co-owners of Hushin on YouTube. That's a Western hunting brand on YouTube. And I eventually met Eric and his two partners, Casey and Brian. In that first year at ATA, we ran into Eric and we'd seen him on YouTube. So we were talking to him about YouTube. And in that hour-long conversation with him, like, so many light bulbs started going off. We're producing content for a website, but YouTube content is different. And the people that are watching on YouTube, they use the platform differently than watching videos on just a random website that's sitting out there. So we learned a lot about YouTube and basically adapting our production style to that platform from Eric and those guys at Hushin, because they had been doing it at this point for like 5 or 6 years and had success. So that was, like, you talk about milestones, that was a huge turning point for us, because we'd been producing videos and doing decent, growing slowly, but didn't really have any direction beyond that. But after we talked with Eric, we realized, like, we need to start thinking differently about how we produce these things, because there's ways we can do it better. And from that point forward, we changed our production style a little bit, and then things really took off.
So from your growth from there, has it been pretty much organic, or have you done other types of marketing to help build the audience?
No, all organic. And YouTube allows you to, like, pay to promote your brand or your page.
Mm-hmm.
And we never did any of that.
And so have you used other types of social media to help tell your story in addition to YouTube?
Yeah, we've got an Instagram page, Facebook, TikTok. For a while we still have 4 or 5 seasons on Amazon Prime. So there's a bunch of different areas, but we kind of use each platform, differently depending on what the audience wants within that platform. Instagram is different than Facebook, and Facebook's different from YouTube. You produce content differently for each one of those to reach the audience. And ideally, you have unique content to each one of those that shares your core values and your mission and what you're trying to do, or that reflects it.
When did you add clothing and hats and, promotional items?
That didn't come until much later. One of our early partners at the Hunting Public is a brand, they're still around, called Legendary Whitetails. And they make all kinds of merchandise for hunters, essentially. And we worked with a lot of the people there, obviously, within that brand. And a few years later, that brand sold, and they had a huge turnover of people. But I was still in contact with a lot of their, old employees, because we built good relationships there, and they loved watching our videos. And one of them, Hayden, who's now my brand manager, he didn't have a job at the time. And I was talking to him about our merchandise. I was like, man, I made some shirts and I'm selling them out of my basement, and the ink's all screwed up on them and the material's not great. And I can't fill these orders and make hunting videos at the same time. I said, I'm basically drowning here. I got 30 orders and I can't even figure out how to tape a box. I said, I know how to make hunting videos. I do not know how to make merchandise. And there's a lot of people that want it. So Hayden's like, well, that's where I worked. I know how to do that stuff. And I was like, well, I don't have enough money to hire you full time. So what we'll do is I'm going to pay you as a consultant, as a subcontractor for a couple months, and I want you to come and help us. And if you can set up a direction for us to go down this road, we'll try to hire you. I said, I would hire you right now, but I don't have any money. But if you can help me sort of create the sub business plan, if you will, for this, then maybe we can figure something out. So eventually we did. I mean, he's the one that really helped us get that side of our business going, because I had done what I could before that, and it was growing, but it was a very sluggish pace. Once we brought him in, because that's his expertise, that's what made a huge difference.
Well, and doing it the way you did, sort of on a part-time test basis, allowed both of you to find out whether it's going to work or not. Talk a minute about your business model, your revenue streams, and some of the expenses that you have, and how you operate profitably.
Well, it's basically like about a half a dozen small buckets. They got a little bit of water dripping into them at any one point. That's how we make it work. If you lose a bucket or two here or there, it's not the end of the world, but we don't have all of our eggs in one basket. We make a little bit of money off of YouTube ad revenue. We make a little bit of money off sponsorships. We make a little bit off of our merchandise. And then we also, up until the last year or so, we did a fair amount of consulting, where we were doing either hunting consulting trips on private property across the country, or we were producing, like, editing content for people. So, we work with various brands in the hunting industry that needed, X amount of videos produced for their website or for their brand, and we would just make those videos for them for a fee. And not any one of those things I would say we were tremendously good at, but we managed to make revenue streams out of all those. And that's all those put together allow us to do what we do.
Well, that makes sense. And it diversifies. And like you said, it's not putting everything into one big bucket that if the bucket gets knocked over, it's going to impact what you're doing. I just want to take a minute here. I got a couple more questions that I want to roll by you. But folks, if you're listening today and you want to find out more about the hunting public, I think you can go to their website, YouTube, other social media channels, and learn a little bit about the story that Aaron and his partners are telling. And it's, all about hunting for the general public, which is, the big part of the hunters, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what's the future look like? Where are you going to take this thing?
I don't know. We have some pretty lofty goals. When we started this, we wanted to move hunting culture in a positive direction for the next generation. So that's one of our founding principles. And that's not a goal that you just reach in a couple years. That's something that takes, potentially a lifetime or more to do. Because what we're really passionate about is having hunting and wildlife available for our kids and their kids. And we feel like we're lucky enough to be in the position that we are to do what we love to do for a living, that's the best way we can find to give back to that. And that's what we hope to do. I mean, literally, that's in every one of our discussions every single week. Whenever we make even small decisions about the brand or the videos that we're making or the social media posts that we're putting up, it always kind of goes back to that. It's like, are we representing the general public that hunts, and are we moving hunting culture in a positive direction so that the next generation has this? And if we don't check those boxes, we don't make a video about it, or we don't make a social media post or whatever.
I think that's awesome.
That's our overarching goal, I guess.
Well, I think that says a lot about you guys, as people, that you really care about what you do. You care about the future, and you're investing your time and your resources to make it better for others. I think that says a lot about you. I commend you for that.
Thanks. I appreciate it. That's what we're trying to do. It's a long process, but just got to keep going.
Well, I think looking at life and looking at careers from the long view is always the best way. I mean, if you're in it for the short term or you're in it for a fast buck, you might get some short-term gratification out of that. But, if you do it for the long haul, when you do look back at it, there's a lot deeper feeling of satisfaction than just that instant gratification. I think that means a lot.
That's how we operate. That's how I operate specifically too, is I've got long-term vision. I miss some of the short-term details here and there, but I'm always thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the road. I mean, we've turned away a lot of sponsorship dollars just to continue to be able to fulfill our mission. And that's one reason why we set it up the way that we did. A lot of the previous, I guess, hunting shows that are out there may just have one big bucket of revenue that comes from sponsors only. But the reason why we did that with small buckets around is so that we didn't have to solely rely on sponsors, so that we could continue to stay focused on our mission. You know, that we didn't have to pick up a different brand's mission and promote their mission. We're passionate enough about ours that we want it to be at the forefront of all of our decision making. And we didn't feel like we could do that if we went to the exclusive sponsorship route completely, because then they would gain more and more control over the brand as they paid us more and more money. And we've turned away a lot of dollars just to make sure that that mission is intact.
Well, I'm pretty confident that's going to serve you well into the future.
I hope so.
Yeah, same here. So, the focus of our podcast is marketing to rural America. And, for a lot of the people that listen to our podcast, hunting and fishing and the outdoor life, the outdoor way of life and our lifestyle that we enjoy, that's just kind of a part of rural America. And so, when I say those words, what does rural America mean to you?
Oh, that's everything. That's where I come from. I mean, that's where I spend most of my time. When I'm out there on these hunts, that's who I'm interacting with, are fellow people from rural communities across the country. And things have changed for them a lot in the last 30 or 40 years. So that's probably where my heart and soul lies, essentially.
Pretty good way to go, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Well, I've enjoyed visiting with you today, Aaron. It's good to get to know you and hear the story about the hunting public and what you guys are all about. And again, I wish you all the best as you grow your business and live your passion. What else would you like to share with our Outdrive audience today that you think they might find interesting or maybe even inspiring?
Oh, I don't know. Like I said before, I'm just really lucky to be one of the people that knew what I wanted to do early on. It's like, if you're a young person and you know what you want to do, don't wait on it. Don't come up with excuses in your mind for not being able to do it. Like, put your best foot forward and try to think every single day on how you can improve and move in that direction. But like I said, there's a lot of people out there that don't know. It's like they're 20 some years old and they still don't quite know what it is that they want to do. But I was really fortunate in that regard to know at a very young age. But I got told no a lot. So I got told no from a lot of different people. But I guess I was stubborn. And I just said, well, I don't know how to do anything else real well other than make hunting videos. So that's what I'm going to do, one way or the other.
We'll call that persistent, not stubborn.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Well, I think that's great advice, and appreciate you sharing that with our audience. And Aaron, again, thank you for being with us and wish you all the best of luck.
Thanks, Cliff. My pleasure.
Folks, thanks for listening to Outdrive. I hope you've enjoyed our visit today with Aaron Warbritton, co-owner of the Hunting Public. Come back again next week, and I'll take you down the roads of rural America where it's heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on Outdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to eCallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, Outthink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.